Hello, and welcome aboard to this episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to following the entire story of One Piece from beginning to end as we focus on one volume each episode. We keep the discussion spoiler free for new fans of the series, so this is the perfect place to follow along, whether you're new to the series or you just want to revisit the world of One Piece with us. This week, we will be covering Volume 12, The Legend Begins, which covers chapters 100 through 108. My name is Joel, and I'll be your host. And joining me today, we have Evan.
Hello, Evan here. 100 chapters. It's a milestone.
We made it, chapter 100.
We made it. Here we are.
And we're officially out of the East Blue.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is an exciting point. Yeah, moving on to the next saga. The world's going to get a little bit bigger from here. All right, so let's get a quick recap from where we left off with the last volume. Luffy had defeated Arlong and freed Nami, along with Cocoa Village, from Arlong's tyranny. When Navy Captain Nezumi tried to take credit, Luffy's crew taught him a lesson. Earning his wrath, Nezumi swore to get back at Luffy. Nami officially joins the crew and says goodbye to her village. The Straw Hat crew learns that Luffy has a 30 million berry bounty and has caught the attention of the Navy. Before heading to the Grand Line, the crew makes a stop at Logtown to obtain some last-minute provisions to see the place where the King of the Pirates was born and killed. Luffy managed to be captured by Buggy and Alvida, but through a sheer stroke of luck, managed to survive thanks to a random lightning bolt, simultaneously hitting Buggy before the death blow could be dealt and freeing Luffy in the process. The Straw Hats make their getaway as Navy Captain Smoker is hot on their tail.
Wow.
So a lot happened. So let's move into chapter 100. The Legend Begins. Buggy managed to survive being hit by lightning, but is angry that Luffy got away. Buggy forms his Chop Chop car, and Alvida shows off her new Devil Fruit abilities using her Slip Slip Tracks technique as they attempt to chase after their target. They don't get very far before Captain Smoker rounds up Buggy's entire crew using his Plume Fruit powers. Over at the Merry, the heavy rain has prevented Moji from burning the ship. Usopp and Nami catch up and are able to save the Merry. Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro try to catch up to their ship, but Zoro is confronted by Tashigi, who is offended that Zoro didn't reveal his identity to her earlier. Zoro defeats her, but decides not to finish her off. Tashigi is offended again that Zoro is treating her differently because she is a woman, which further reminds him of his childhood friend. Smoker is able to catch Luffy and Sanji, who are helpless against Devil Fruit powers. Just when it seems that they have been captured, a mysterious figure named Dragon arrives and blows away the Navy soldiers, allowing Luffy and Sanji to get away, as well as Buggy's crew. The crew reunites on the Merry, and they get ready to head to the Grand Line. Smoker tells his men that they're going to the Grand Line to chase after Luffy, and Buggy decides he'll head back to the Grand Line himself. Out at sea, the Straw Hats approach the lighthouse that indicates that they are about to reach the entrance to the Grand Line. To commemorate this moment, they gather around a barrel and reaffirm each of their personal dreams.
Wow, that happens in that one.
Yeah.
The whole beginning of this chapter is a blur. Like, so much is happening. I was like, wait, who, what, where? But
yeah, a lot of key players here.
Yep, we get a mysterious cloaked figure in the beginning, who we find out is Dragon, who seems to be a formidable opponent. He uses a wind style at one point.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Also a very cool looking character.
He's pretty cool.
He is pretty cool.
We really don't know too much about him, though. He just kind of shows up. We don't know his motivations. Don't know, like, why he was here. Why does he interfere?
Right. Luffy's pinned. He kind of, like, steps in and allows Luffy to escape.
So, yeah. Not too much about Dragon. So he's just kind of here. He makes a grand entrance and then he's just kind of gone.
Yeah. You get the feeling that he's a very powerful pirate, though.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of some of the other devil fruits that we're seeing in this?
Yeah, so we
In this
see
chapter?
the plume fruit, right?
Yeah, so that's smokers.
Yeah, so smoker's fruit is really impressive and a very cool ability. Like the fact that he can kind of turn his body into smoke and also
Yeah,
use smoke in like a partially solidify, like he can use it to capture people and grab things and capture things,
yeah,
but also use it to evade and kind of dodge things as well. So seems
yeah,
like a very powerful devil fruit to have.
yeah. And really, Luffy and Sanji couldn't really do too much about it. Even like the Buggy's crew, like Buggy and Alvida get captured pretty easily, and
Yep.
like he's able to kind of apprehend like all these pirates like all in one fell swoop.
Yeah. Very strong ability for sure. Yeah, here he just kind of like sucks everyone up in his
Yeah,
plume. Pretty great. And we see the buggy chop car.
yeah.
So good. So good.
It's like so dumb, but like in the best way.
Yeah. It's so buggy. It's so buggy.
Like he like they have like a motor for him. Like we haven't seen him like use his powers this way before, but he just kind of
Right.
forms his body, so he's like holding like the wheels, and they put like a little motor on him to kind of
Little
like propel him.
transformer. It's a little Formula One car. Like, give me the
Pirates in
motor.
disguise.
But this was kind of a weird scene when they build that, like they call it a ski slope. Does she use her sweaty feet to like lubricate the track?
I think it's just the lack of friction on her skin. Um, yeah, so like because
I don't know.
like
Maybe
her
at the point of saying her feet are very sweaty, and then she slides down the slide.
I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily sweat, but yeah, I think it's just because no friction. So like um yeah, they just carry around the ski slope. So I guess in case she decides to do this, just to kind of get like momentum going, and
Yeah,
she just kind of slides down. So it's kind of like she almost is like a sled,
gotcha.
and then because of that, she can just keep going because there's no friction on her feet. So she's just like sliding around. But
You
then
can't
yeah, they
tell
get
me
stopped
those
pretty
aren't
quickly.
sweaty
So
feet. I mean, look at the. There's all like the little sweat drawings on her feet, on her legs too.
I think it's just because the rain.
Ah, that could be it. Alvita and her sweaty feet.
That could be a headcanon though if you want.
Oh man.
And Smoker's got his own transportation because like
Oh
he turns
yeah.
his feet into smoke, and then like he uses like the smoke as like kind of like a wheel to pedal. So he just kind of keeps it going that way.
Wait, on the bike? Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's really cool. Wow, they show it in like one frame, like right here.
yeah, exactly. So they kind of give you like here's like a little breakdown of what's happening, like with his feet over there.
Ah, not knowing that, I think that's kind of hard to. I didn't catch that right away.
Mm, yeah,
That's pretty
yeah.
cool.
Sometimes like there are little details like that you kind of don't really notice.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you go back and look at it, it's like, oh, that makes sense. But it's like I wasn't really picking up on it. Like I didn't really like catch that detail.
Did you catch
So
that in the anime?
I I think the anime would have been like clear.
Right?
I don't remember offhand, but like
Yeah.
the anime, like you would have seen it. Like that also helps too. Like seeing it in the anime, you can see
Right.
things in motion. So those kinds of things just kind of stand out more.
Right.
Also like with the whole like thing with Moji and Usopp.
Oh yeah.
I, I thought it was pretty hilarious, but like this is like also kind of like another one of those things because you don't see things in motion. Like it's basically like Usopp shows up, surprises Moji. Moji slips because like the rain, and he hits
Right.
his head. So Usopp didn't really do anything, but like Usopp takes the credit for it anyway.
Right.
Like, that was all
Was
me.
it like a quick draw and he shot something at him? But no, he just slipped. He was just clumsy and fell.
Yeah. So luckily it's raining over here, so the ship doesn't catch on fire. So that's also one of those things we talked about, like with the last volume at the end, how there's all these things that were kind of like falling into place that just kind of made the stars align. So all these convenient things were happening. So this is just kind of continuing that trend where it's going into the favor of the Straw Hats like getting away.
Totally. A series of fortunate events for sure. He distracts Richie with an egg.
Yeah.
Fresh
That's
egg
hilarious.
star. Got him.
And like Richie just goes and starts whipping it up, like, "What's up, miss?" And then like
Yeah.
just worked in his favor. I thought that was funny.
And then Zoro and Tashigi face off.
Yeah, what'd you think of their confrontation here?
We all knew it was gonna happen.
It was pretty brief.
Coming. It was definitely foretold. But yeah, I mean, it went kind of as I would have pictured it going. Like Zoro bests Tashigi like pretty quickly, but then can't finish her off.
Yeah,
I think because he sees, is it Kuina? Is that the right name?
Yeah, Kuina. Yeah, that was his.
I think he sees Kuina in her and like can't see her as an opponent. I think he sees her as like she. I mean, they also do have like a standing relationship because they had met previous and she helped him select his swords that he's currently using.
Yeah,
and I think they had a moment together where they kind of bonded, and he can't deliver a fatal blow, and so I don't know. I thought this was a nice little scene, and then he kind of like gets kind of standoffish and starts arguing with her, and like like he even calls her out for like stop acting like my friend who
she's like, I don't even know your friend. Like I'm made. Like, don't confuse me with your friends. Like
right. It was like it got like really personal really quickly, but
yeah. Also like if their circumstances were different, if they weren't like on opposing sides, they also maybe could have developed some kind of like actual bond. Like
yeah, totally.
they did have like the sword chop experience, and Tashigi like didn't think anything of it. It's like, hey, you remind me of that bounty hunter Zoro, and Zoro doesn't say, "Oh, I am him." He's just like just kind of goes along with it,
But they definitely have like a common interest and common goals as well.
Yeah.
And her resemblance to Kuina is like pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed that. I know I think there will be more confrontations between the two, in the future.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah. Man, Dragon really saved the day. Dragon really saved the day. I feel like Luffy was pinned, didn't really have an answer for the plume fruit.
Yeah. Which is a problem because Smoker's still after them.
Right.
So they don't really have a way to deal with Smoker.
And by the end of this chapter, they've got Smoker after them and Buggy after them as well.
Buggy's still going out there, yeah.
I love
Smoker's like dead set on going after them. Like he's like, all right, we're leaving here. We're gonna abandon this post. We're gonna go like to the Grand Line to go get this pirate. It's like becoming personal because like they never let pirates get away before, so now it's like a personal thing for Smoker. And it's like, is he going to be too obsessed about trying to get Luffy now? And like he's like basically his subordinates like, what do we tell the superiors? And he's like, you don't tell me what to do. Go tell them that. I'm sure they're gonna love that answer.
Yeah, he'd already made up his mind. Because I'm doing this. To the Grand Line. Everyone's going to the Grand Line. I love the huddle they do at the end of this chapter.
Me too.
I thought that was so cool. I don't know if that's an actual thing that people did, but everyone seemed to get the memo, and they all like put their foot up on the barrel and like kind of said their goals.
Yeah, it's almost like they kind of put your hand in the middle. Like
it was like a huddle. It was definitely like a huddle.
Yeah,
go team kind of moment.
Yeah, this is a very like charming moment, and I think this is also one of those moments that just kind of stands out in the series where it's like everybody just reaffirming their personal dreams and committing to this pirate life, and they're all in it together to kind of help each other achieve their dreams.
Absolutely. Like this is what we've all wanted for the first 99 chapters is this moment of them finally going to the Grand Line. Like something that was hinted in the first chapter and has been like the goal ever since. And we're finally Like we're finally making moves, and that's
Yeah, it feels like it's happening. Yeah.
yeah. And the team is like all together, and I feel like pretty established at this point. And
Yeah.
then, like you said, everyone kind of goes through and establishes their goals or like
Mm.
what they're seeking in the Grand Line, and then announce that that's the next stop.
Yeah. So it's time to officially kick off the story of One Piece.
Yeah,
Only took 100 chapters, but we got there.
a lovely 100 chapters. I mean, like,
Yeah,
because it makes this moment so much better. Like
it
having
does.
gone through all of that, and even with like Alvida and Buggy, like we have so much backstory on those characters. Like, you know, this arc is so cool because we get the return of those characters plus all these new characters. It's like there's a lot going on, but it all makes sense and all clicks.
Yeah.
And it's all like ramping up for something really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. This all feels earned.
Yes.
It's a nice way to look back at like how far they've come, but
Yeah.
also look forward to the future. So like it's a really nice blend of, you know, both of those aspects,
Yeah.
because like they've already gone through like, quite a lot, but like their journey is just beginning, and it's nice to kind of celebrate, especially after like 100 chapters. It's like a nice way to commemorate that, and remember some of the other people that they've encountered throughout the series, and what they have had to go through to get here, and
Totally.
this just makes it feel all the more worth it.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, wasn't Alvida like one of the very first villains?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
cool.
very
It's cool
first.
seeing. It's cool, like at this juncture in the story, seeing Alvida and Buggy, two pirates that, like, when Luffy first faced them, it was like he's not even a pirate. He's just like some kid who wants to be a pirate. They're looking down on him. He's like an easy target. And now here we are. 100 chapters later, and they're chasing him into the Grand Line as like one of the most wanted pirates. It's so cool to see. It's so cool to see like the story develop and get to this point, and the payoff that we get in these chapters from the beginning. Really,
Yeah.
good stuff.
All right. Well, we're just getting started. So, how about we move on to the next part of the cover story? So there's a weird thing that happens for like I think it's only like two of these cover story chapters where they change the name of the
Yeah,
cover story,
notice that.
and then it goes back to the original name. So, um, I don't know why it's inconsistent, but it's still the same cover story. It was only for like a few chapters, so it just goes back to the other one. So anyway, just like a little preamble there. So Kobe and Helmeppo's Chronicle of Toil, but they call it the Travails of Kobe and Helmeppo, Volume 16, hindering a hindrance to the hindrance of the artillery attack. Garp smashes the cannon before the Navy soldiers could fire at Kobe.
Oh,
So
God.
I love the sequence of titles.
Yeah.
It's becoming a mouthful, but it's so funny.
Yeah. The little seagull like emotes, the like exclamation question mark. Oh, that was fun.
Yeah. Again,
And
Kobe
Kobe's
having
still standing
another
there
great
with his
reaction.
used up pistol. I think wasn't that the last, like one of the last cover stories we got was Kobe's pistols getting all chopped up.
Yeah.
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 So it's funny seeing him just holding the end of
Yeah.
his eyes bugging out.
But Garp himself like intervenes and saves Kobe. He's like, we're not gonna fire on these noble Navy recruits.
Yeah.
So good on Garp.
Yeah. A command probably would have done it, but smashing the cannon really, really drives home the message.
Yeah. He does it with his bare hand too.
Hands, boom.
So Garp's got some power.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Moving on. Chapter 101, Reverse Mountain. Luffy panics as the light of the lighthouse goes off. Nami tells him this is normal, but she is there to make sure they get to the Grand Line. She points out that it's odd that the charts indicate they would have to go up a canal on Reverse Mountain to enter. As they try to sort things out, Usopp notices the storm is gone. Nami suddenly realizes they've entered the calm belt. The rest of the crew don't understand why Nami is worried, so she explains that the Grand Line is surrounded by the calm belt on both sides. There's no wind in this area, so they can't sail. But as the crew learns the hard way, it is a home to a horde of gigantic sea kings. Now realizing the danger they're in, the crew begins to panic. They've ended up on the nose of a sea king as it rows out of the water, but it sneezes, launching them back into the relative safety of the storm. Nami realizes that the currents from the four surrounding seas would converge at Reverse Mountain, creating an upward stream that they can use. Now they just have to make sure not to miss the canal, otherwise the ship will be destroyed. As they approach, they realize the top of the red line is higher than the clouds. As they prepare to enter the canal, the whip staff for steering breaks, and they start to go off course. Luffy jumps in the way and uses a Gum Gum balloon to save the Merry and knocks it back on course. They reach the top of the mountain. As they start to head back down, they set their eyes on the Grand Line. So they're already off to a crazy start.
Reverse Mountain, what does that mean? This is pretty cool. Of course, the Grand Line has to have some crazy, bizarre way of entering it, as in sailing up a mountain.
Yep.
But I thought this was a really cool chapter. Very informative. There's a lot of like diagrams and depictions of some specifics on the Grand Line geographically. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the Neptunians. Did I say that right? Neptunians?
Yeah. So the translation that Viz uses is Neptunians. I went with Sea Kings. So basically, either one works. It's one of those things.
So cool.
So generally, with the Sea Kings, like I think that's what they're more commonly referred to. Neptunians is like a stylistic choice that Viz decided to go with, where it's I don't think it's like an exact translation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a preference thing. So if I say Sea Kings, it's the same thing as a Neptunian.
Okay, gotcha. I thought that was such a cool full page spread. Like that's
really cool. And just like look at the sheer scale of those creatures.
And yeah, and the amount and just like the creativeness and the design of each creature is so cool.
Yeah, they're all vastly different.
I love that. That was very cool and unexpected. Like you weren't expecting that at all. But that was awesome.
Yeah, because I love how it's the calm that scares Nami.
Yeah.
So which is not what you would expect because it's like, oh, good, we're out of the storm, but they're stranded there. They're just going to be floating around.
Totally. And Nami, yeah, Nami really flexes her navigator muscles in this chapter. Like, I think she really shows her wealth of knowledge and just like her value as a navigator.
Because nobody else has a clue.
They would be so lost without her at this point. Like, if Nami wasn't on this ship, they would be doomed. 100%.
Yeah. So Arlong Park was worth it.
Yeah, totally worth it. Luffy was right. They need her.
So just to kind of go over the way that the calm belts are set up. So it's basically a built-in reason why they can't just go around the Grand Line, why they have to travel the Grand Line, because the calm belt is on each side. So in order to get to the Grand Line, like you would have to be able to get through the calm belt, which we see here, it's not really like a possible thing for people to do.
Yeah.
Like no matter how strong you are, like these Sea Kings are there and they're going to be larger than you. So and there's no way to like move your boat without the wind. So the calm belt is there to essentially make it so people have to travel the Grand Line to get from point A to point B.
And I think Zoro was like, why don't we just like go around? And then Luffy's like, but I would feel weird like not going in through the entrance. He's like, there's an entrance. I would feel weird not taking it. Like we've got to take the entrance to the Grand Line. I thought that was a funny moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, Luffy would say that.
Yeah, Luffy is all about the adventure.
All about it. Yeah, this is exciting. Coming up on the Grand Line.
It's a little convenient how they get back is because the Sea King just kind of sneezes them back. So it's a good thing
Yeah.
they didn't get eaten. They didn't actually have any other way out. But it was more like a plot device to kind of just introduce us to the concept of the
Right.
conch belt.
Totally. Yeah,
But
there are a
now,
lot
now
of
you see.
convenient situations. A lot of, yeah, a lot of convenient escapes for Luffy and Co.
And then Luffy has this trend where if he doesn't understand something fully, to him it's a mystery. So
Yes.
because he doesn't understand like the concept that Nami's explaining for like the canal going up, he's like, oh, so it's a mystery mountain. It's like, no, I just explained to you how it works. It's not a mystery. We know.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. It comes up later too in this volume, I think. But yeah, that was great. Who doesn't love a good mystery?
Yeah.
Makes the story so much better.
Yeah, and they have a few close calls here. The ship almost crashes right into like these pillars, kind of like along the side. Luffy bounces them back on course. Yeah, and then that leads them right into the Grand Line. Now it should be smooth sailing from here, right?
Yep. Finally.
All right. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the Grand Line.
All right. So the next part of the cover story, The Travails of Kobe and Helmeppo, Volume 17, Helmeppo's Big Decision. Helmeppo makes a stand against his father. Well, there's no way that this is going to go wrong.
Yeah, no way. Never yell at a man with an axe arm. Good rule of thumb. But hey,
right.
Helmeppo's standing up for himself, which is probably the first.
That's good. Yeah, good for Helmeppo.
Yeah, good for him.
All right, chapter 102. And now the Grand Line. As the merry goes flying down the mountain, they hear a giant bellow, but they can't see in front of them. Sanji says he sees a mountain ahead of them, but Nami points out it should be a clear path. They soon realize it's no mountain, it's a massive whale. Unable to steer with a broken whipstaff, Luffy decides to shoot their front-facing cannon at the whale to try to get the ship to stop. The ship stops as it makes contact with the whale, causing the figurehead to snap off. The whale was unfazed by the cannon fire, but Luffy is now angry that his special seat was broken. He punches the whale in the eye. The whale bellows and swallows the entire ship, minus Luffy, who lands on the whale's head. Luffy notices a door on the whale and enters it before it submerges. The rest of the crew appear to be in some place with a sky and an ocean. They notice a house on an island in the middle of the water. They are suddenly attacked by a giant squid, but is pierced by 3 harpoons from behind before it can harm them. They see someone coming out of the house. Meanwhile, Luffy finds himself in a hallway with metal walls, unsure why this would be in a whale.
Yeah, what is going on here?
So this is setting up more questions and answers.
Yes, for sure. Where is the light coming from?
Yeah, it's
There's
like
no sun in here, but it seems
Yeah.
like a sunny day in paradise.
it looks perfectly pleasant in there.
Yeah.
Luffy's already separated from his crew. They just got to the Grand Line and they're already separated. So Luffy's like, well, my entire crew just got eaten.
Yeah, and the ocean is not a very safe place for Luffy. Getting separated at sea is not. I feel like if I was Luffy's crewmate, I'd be very worried at this point.
Yeah, especially with how big this whale is.
Yeah. Thank God for that little trapdoor, though.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
But yeah, this whale is massive. It's like almost like
Huge.
like a Sea King level whale.
Yep.
It's got all these like scrapes on his head. So it looks like he's seen some stuff. Luffy's quick thinking though. stops the ship from crashing somehow, and unfortunately, the masthead or the figurehead doesn't actually survive. So the ships are in bad shape.
Such a fresh ship. You hate to see it torn up like that.
Yeah.
Luffy, quick to act as usual, punching a whale directly into the eyeball.
Yeah, no regard for his own safety.
Yeah, that's gonna have repercussions for sure.
Yeah, listen, dude, that was my special seat, and punches the whale right in the eye. What do you do to it?
Oh man. Yeah, you feel like you're in some alternate dimension by the end of this chapter because it's like, what happened? The crew's in this like random tropical paradise.
Yeah,
pulling up on this little hut in the middle of the ocean.
it's like, is this whale real? Like, this is like a robot whale? Like, what's going on?
What is going on?
Know?
Is it a ship? Like, I don't know. It was confusing to say the least.
I really like this effect that Oda does, where it's a transition series of panels.
Oh yeah,
the bottom here. So I kind of mentioned this before, where like he starts to put like these little slivers of panels, to show like a transition from one place to another. So I don't really say he's actually started like using that quite yet, but it's a little similar to that kind of effect.
Yeah, I think we've seen him use this a little bit in previous,
a little bit.
It is nice though. It's kind of like, yeah, like you said, it's like a transition.
Yeah.
It's kind of like time passes.
Yeah.
Kind of like a fade out almost.
And then it seems like the very bottom corner might be the new sky. So like it looks like it's going from the real sky to the sky that's inside the whale.
Yep. That's cool.
And
piece.
They have another close call with this giant squid that luckily gets skewered before it can actually attack them.
Yeah. Who done it?
And then at the very end, they notice somebody's coming out. So somebody is like inside like this whale.
Yeah, like you said, more questions than answers. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, luckily we don't have to wait too long.
Dimension, like hallway. What is happening?
All right. Did you have any other thoughts on this one?
Nope. Trapdoor on a whale. Like, let's see where it leads.
Maybe we'll find out in the chapter called 103, The Whale. A man with flower petals on his head walks out of the house, then sits down without a word. Unsure what his intentions are, they demand that he tell them who he is. He explains his name is Crocus and that they are in the belly of the whale. They notice the clouds in the sky aren't moving. The inside of the whale is just painted that way. Crocus points out an exit that they are free to use. The water starts to become wavy, which causes them to realize that the island has metal under it to protect it from the water. There's actually the whale's stomach acid, which will ruin their ship. Crocus explains that the whale has been bashing his head against the wall of the Red Line, causing lots of scars. At this time, agents Mr. 9 and Miss Wednesday have infiltrated the whale in hopes of taking it back to their village to feed their town. Luffy went bouncing around and knocks the two agents into the acid water of the whale's belly. Crocus makes his way over to a giant needle that he uses to inject a tranquilizer into the whale to calm it down when it starts ramming into the wall. He returns and tells the agents that they'll never hurt Laboon on his watch. They decide to put him to the test and launch an attack on the whale, but he jumps in the way to take the blast. Luffy intervenes and knocks them both out and ties them up. Crocus explains he can't let the agents take the whale meat because the reason Laboon keeps smashing his head, he's trying to break the wall of the Red Line, was when he came along with a friendly pirate crew 50 years ago who had stayed there for a bit while they repaired their damaged ship. Not realizing the baby Laboon tagged along, they didn't want him to be harmed, so Crocus agreed to watch him for a few years while the pirates made their voyage around the world. They never returned.
Aw, Laboon.
Yeah, so we have a name to the whale and a reason why he's attacking the wall. at
It
the
is
red
in
line.
fact a whale.
Yeah. So he is a real whale,
It is a real whale.
and he used to be a little baby.
We meet.
Yeah. So what'd you think of Laboon's backstory here?
I was surprised that it was an actual whale. I wasn't sure what to expect.
Right.
But yeah, you kind of get a little taste of the relationship between Crocus,
Yeah. Either way works. Yeah. I would say
and the
Crocus.
whale. And we also get the introduction of Mrs. Wednesday and Mr. Nine.
Yep.
Who are, mysterious to say the least.
Mystery Man and Mystery Woman. Maybe they're from the mysterious mountain.
And then they have these
The Mystery Mountain.
They're like rocket launchers, but they're like also muskets.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool.
Yeah. Those are pretty neat.
They're like musket rocket launchers. Or like, I don't know, pirate rocket launchers. And yeah, we start getting some of the internal architecture of the whale. Which is pretty interesting and pretty elaborate. Giant doors and canals and all sorts of structure.
So Crocus basically set up this whale in a way that he could better take care of it. So he wasn't planning on being stuck with this whale for 50 years. So he didn't want anything bad to happen to the whale. So he took it upon himself to watch over the whale, hoping that the other parts will return. But after all this time, it's not really looking so good. And I think that was it this chapter where he says he heard from like a source that that they had left the Grand Line at some point. So it doesn't really seem like they are coming back. So Laboon's kind of been abandoned, and he is still holding out hope that his friends are going to come back for him someday. So it's really tragic, and this whale is so desperate to reunite with his friends. He's trying to smash down the red line, and damaging his head in the process, but he's not really getting anywhere.
Yeah, pretty sad. You feel for Laboon in this case, and Crocus for like taking care of him and watching over him and doing his best to try to fix the issue.
Yeah, and after all this time, he's developed a bond with Laboon now too.
Yep.
He spends every day with Laboon. He's like living in Laboon. So he's pretty well established here now.
Yep.
He's up the tranquilizer to stop Laboon from hurting himself. So nice little backstory for Laboon. I like the way that this is set up and seeing this relationship in action. But yeah, definitely really sad to see this poor whale in the situation.
Yeah. You feel for the whale.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a progression with some of the story here. With the agents showing up. So we don't know their full deal, but it seems like they're here to. I mean, they're here to kill the whale. It seems like they're doing it for a good reason in their eyes because they want to feed their village. But they're going to kill this innocent whale. So
yeah,
they have to be stopped.
Yeah, Luffy sees right through it and punches them both in the back of the head. He said they had it coming.
Yeah, and then Crocus diving in the way to take the attack. So yeah, again,
right, that's right.
He's definitely grown really attached to the whale. He doesn't want anything to harm him, even though like I don't know how sturdy the walls are here, but yeah, Crocus is not taking any chances, and he's not going to let the whale be harmed. So he puts his life on the line here, really.
Yep.
All right. Any other thoughts here?
No, I think I'm good to move on.
Okay. Moving on to the next part of the cover story. The Trails of Kobe and Helmeppo, Volume 18, Vice Admiral Garp's Negligence. Turns out, Garp fell asleep standing up, causing him to put his guard down earlier when Morgan slashed him. Oop, my bad.
Excuses.
Like, he just straight up fell asleep, just chilling there when he was supposed to be, like, watching over, like, this, the prison transfer, or the prison transfer, and he's like, oh, yeah, I fell asleep. It happens.
I love all of the Marines in the background are like all like synchronized diving. Not sure
like,
what's
what?
going on there.
I think it's some kind of being like falling over, like,
yeah,
like what? Like,
no way.
That's what happened. You fell asleep.
That's funny.
All right. Chapter 104, Cape Promise. The crew is amazed at what Crocus has done to the inside of the whale. He explains that he was a ship's doctor and used to run a clinic here at the Cape years ago. Luffy asks him to join them, but he declines, saying he's too old to take care of a bunch of young and reckless pirates. He lets them out back into the real ocean, and the crew kicks the mystery agents overboard, who swim away. Luffy notices they left something behind. The crew thinks about whether or not Laboon's friends will return, but Crocus states he heard the pirates had fled the Grand Line and likely won't be returning. He tried telling this to Laboon, but the whale wouldn't believe him. Luffy decides to tear off the mast of their ship, runs up the whale, and pierces the top of the whale with the mast. Luffy gets sent flying, so he punches a whale in the eye again. Luffy gets sent flying again and declares their fight a draw. Luffy promises that when they finish their journey, they'll sail back here so they can finish their fight. So yeah, just like we just talked about with the last chapter, like Laboon's friends seem like they're not coming back. But yeah, so in this case here, this is a chance for Luffy and his crew to kind of like give Laboon something else to think about. Instead of like the original crew who's waiting for, Luffy is now going to fill that role, and he's making the promise that they will return someday to see him.
Yeah, the backstory is kind of sad. The abandoned whale, who you've now grown to love over a few chapters.
Yeah.
And in classic Luffy, just kind of like taking action, and everyone's like, "What the hell is Luffy?"
Yeah.
And then when his idea or motivation comes to light, it's like, oh, Luffy, how thoughtful, like what an amazing idea, or like,
yeah,
like he's so quick to act. He always acts before he seems to announce his motivations. But
yeah, and again, like that's like one of those cases where it's like, it seems like Luffy's doing something that would be like bad. It's like, Luffy, why are you attacking this whale? But his reasoning is like a good one. He's doing it for a good reason, and the person he's doing it for is understanding what he's doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Luffy is doing these things where it's like, again, not everybody else around him is going to understand like what he's doing and why he's doing it. But then it makes sense. It's like, oh, okay, so Luffy's actually doing this for a good reason. It seemed like he's doing something dumb or like mean, but he's actually doing this thing that's going to ultimately be like this this sign of friendship, and like he makes a promise, and when Luffy says something, he means it. So he's not making like an empty promise here. Like he fully intends to come back here for the whale.
Yeah, I think his ability to like help other people on their journey, or not think of himself, but think of other people around him and like what they want to do and helping them get to where they want to get, comes through again in this chapter. And Laboon sheds a tear, realizing what he's doing, and it was a nice tender moment. I thought
yeah. So now hopefully he'll stop asking his head.
Natural born like leader. I think that he is able to help people everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
And make friends, and those are all good qualities to have.
for sure. Yeah. But hopefully, I mean, yeah, hopefully tearing up the mast will be something they can work around. But like, yeah, maybe there's a way that didn't involve destroying the ship like that. But
I
Luffy is being
know. I
bold.
was so happy. The merry go. I mean, such a bummer. Such a beautiful ship.
It's like the whipstaff broke, the figurehead broke, the mast
Yeah.
broke. It's like the ship is already in rough shape.
Yeah, and they just got it figured in mind. It's barely. This is their first stop, and the ship is a mess. Yeah. Yeah. A heartwarming end, though. I really liked the end of this chapter. It was really. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I'm sure Luffy has some like good intentions here, but I'm not sure what he's doing.
Yeah.
But then by the end of it, I was like, yeah, I was right to trust you. You know, like you did right. You did right.
Yeah. So very sweet. Yeah, doing it in very Luffy fashion.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Luffy just happens to find that little trinket that was left behind.
Right.
Which we don't know exactly the significance for it yet.
Not yet.
All right. Any other thoughts on this one?
Nope. I think I'm good to move on.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm good to move on as well.
Cool.
Okay, the next part of the cover story. Back to the original title. So Kobe and Helmeppo's Chronicle of Toil, Volume 19, Morgan Alone. Morgan has sent Helmeppo overboard. So, yep.
Or he killed him. Or he killed his own son.
Yeah, hopefully Helmeppo's okay. Chapter 105, Log Pose. Luffy paints Laboon's head with their Jolly Roger, telling him that if he keeps smashing his head on the wall, he is going to ruin it. The rest of the crew starts preparing for the voyage to the Grand Line. Nami notices her compass is spinning around wildly. Crocus tells him that due to the magnetic fields, their compass won't work on the Grand Line, and the sea and wind patterns change constantly. He goes on to explain that they would need a log pose that can record the magnetic fields of the Grand Line. Luffy points out the thing they found earlier, which Crocus confirms is a log pose. He tells him to traverse the Grand Line. You would need to travel to the next island to record the magnetic field in order to find the next island along the path. Each island has its own time frame that it takes to record the next location, and it varies from island to island. There are 7 different paths that will eventually converge at one location, Laughtail. The only pirate crew to have been confirmed to reach it was Roger's crew. This is said to be where the One Piece is hidden. Nami says she better take good care of that log pose as Sanji angrily kicks Luffy for eating all of the food, causing him to go flying into the log pose and smashing it. Crocus tells him not to panic, he'll give them his as thanks for helping Laboon. Off in the distance, Mr. 9 and Miss Wednesday realize that they left their log pose behind. Suddenly, they are caught by the Unluckies, Mr. 13, the Otter, and Miss Friday, the Vulture. Drop a bomb on them for not completing their mission. They survive and end up on land where the Straw Hats are stationed. Mr. 9 requests that they bring them along to Whiskey Peak and promises to repay their hospitality. Luffy decides to bring them along. Crocus checks to make sure that they want to commit to the path that they're choosing, as they won't be able to change it down the line. Luffy is not concerned, and they say their goodbyes to Crocus. Crocus looks on and says that there's a special air about Luffy. He wonders if these are the pirates that he and Roger were waiting for.
Roger.
So a little reveal at the end.
So Roger.
I'm sure it's just some guy named Roger.
Yeah. Roger the pirate.
Yeah. So what'd you think of this chapter?
Well, first of all, I love the first panel of the callback from the OG Jolly Roger.
Yeah, Luffy's artistic skills returned. There's a
Luffy is
little
not
band-aid
forgotten.
too. They put the band-aid where Luffy attacked him.
Yeah, so good. I
It's actually a
love
big
that.
band-aid.
What?
It's actually a big band-aid when you look at
Yeah,
the
those must be
scale.
massive band-aids. No, I thought that was laugh out loud funny, and a great callback to when they originally made the Jolly Roger way back when.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Then we get a lot of juicy details about navigating the Grand Line,
Yeah.
how that works, which I don't know if I entirely understand how it works. But in this
Yeah.
moment, they kind of break it down. It looks pretty cool with the 7 different paths you can take.
Yeah, so
All these
basically what they're explaining here is there's like 7 different starting points to the Grand Line. So there's 7 different islands. And in order to actually navigate the Grand Line, you can't just like follow a compass. So you won't be able to get there because a regular compass is not going to register the magnetic field. It's going to throw it off. So the only way to actually navigate the Grand Line is to use the log pose, which is kind of like a GPS. It'll register the direction of the next destination. So you let the log pose over time, it will register, like it'll settle where the next location is, but it needs time to figure it out. So every time you go to an island, you can't just move on to the next island immediately. Every island's going to have like a certain like time period that you need to wait. It's like a little buffer period. So it'll find out where the next location will be. So that's kind of be like the setup for how the Grand Line works. So that way they can navigate it. So they can't just choose like, oh, let me go to every single island along the way. It's like
right.
once you go down this path, this island will eventually go to this next island on the map. But only the log post will register that next island. So you can't just choose to like break the path. You have to follow along that path once you chose
Right.
it.
What a cool, like, I don't know, like storytelling tool. You know, I feel like this way it sets it up so there's like a clear path to the destination, which is Raftel, which he mentions in this chapter, which is like the final, like the top of this chain. You know, it's such a perfect like chronological path. It's like, here's where you start. This is the finish, probably where the One Piece is, or at least they allude to that in this chapter.
Yeah.
And it like sets up a very nice linear path for the rest of this series potentially.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think that's kind of a clever storytelling tool to kind of like. It's almost like setting up like levels along a path
Yeah.
to the boss level. You know,
Yeah,
like
kind of. Yeah.
it's so linear, which is cool, and I'm excited to see how that works out.
Yeah, it's basically like here's the start of the actual journey to the One Piece. So this is kind of the game plan. This is the roadmap to the One Piece.
Right.
So now we kind of have like a clear idea of how they're going to get there, like what their intentions are, like how they're going to try to find the One Piece. So I mean, for the most part, like they're like you said, they're going to be traveling along this path, and they're going to go down sequentially to. So in here they call it Raftel. So I think later on they changed the translation to Laugh Tale. So I'm just going to mention that now. Yeah. So I think
In
when
the
they initially
manga or
translate
in the manga changes?
in the manga too.
Interesting.
So yeah, the translator Stephen Paul kind of mentions this because initially when they did the translation, it wasn't exactly clear. But I think later on, Oda actually wrote out the way that it was spelled, so that way it was a more clear indication that it was supposed to be Laugh Tale.
Okay.
So just just an FYI. So again, they're essentially the same thing, but it's another translation thing. I know we're running into a lot of those.
Yeah.
But that's where some of the tricky things are. Um, adapting it to an English audience. Not everything's gonna translate one to one.
Mhm.
So sometimes they have to take certain liberties, or sometimes not clear. So they have to kind of make these decisions. So it's actually really interesting because Stephen Paul is actually just talking about a translation decision he made like 4 or 5 years ago, and then like the recent chapter that just came out. Um, like a decision that he made actually ended up being like the correct decision, but like it wasn't clear back then. So like he kind of like made a leap in logic that made sense to him. So he made a decision, like he had a reason for it. Um, so he kind of felt justified. He's like, all right, yeah, so I made a good decision with that translation, but like, it very easily could have gone the other way. Whereas like that's not what Oda meant. So
Right.
so he did a good job making that judgment call there.
That's cool. Yeah, there's a lot like left for interpretation.
Yeah.
In those situations. That's cool. But I'm glad I have you to like tell me those things now so
Yeah.
that like it all makes sense as I'm
Exactly.
reading through it.
Yeah.
Because I haven't watched any of the anime yet. It's still purely just what I've read in the manga stuff.
Right. I think the anime also calls it Raftel. So
Raftel?
yeah.
Okay.
Again, it's not a major thing, but I also find the translation things like super fascinating, especially like hearing the explanations for the official translator Stephen Paul. Again, he
Right.
does it later on in the series. So like hearing his explanations for these things is just like very fascinating to me. In his decision process. So like sometimes there's like certain puns or like certain things he has to kind of tweak in a way that'll make sense to an English audience to get the same point across.
Right.
So I just find that whole concept of translating very fascinating, and the way he explains it is very insightful and fun.
Totally. And I think in this series specifically, there's a lot of like play on words.
There are, yeah.
You know, and like I can't even imagine what translating that is like, trying to translate a play on words, you know, like that's
yeah, I'm sure this is a very difficult series to translate. So
totally.
Anyway, back to the actual story.
Yes. So we're introduced to the log pose, which is very cool.
Yeah, it's like that 3D sphere.
Yeah, it's like a little compass.
So it can point like all the places. It's not just gonna be like left to right. So it's gonna be a little bit more specific. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool device, which is immediately broken. Pretty much like this. Our fate relies in this tool, and then it's immediately smashed by Sanji kicking Luffy in the face.
It's like, I will protect this log pose with my life.
Yeah, and that's Nami's reaction.
It's so funny.
I love that expression. The like glazed over sheeted,
like that blank look. Yeah,
the blank just like hasn't fully processed what just happened, but like the emotion is hit of the like holy shit moment.
It's like I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah, I think that's really well portrayed in that cell. Like and Oda does that in like a bunch of different times. But I love that just that glazed over faded realization moment. I feel like it's really well done.
Yeah, and just like the interactions with the crew here in general are like just like they're so fun because like we have like Sanji and Luffy like already like going at it. Like Sanji kicking Luffy because he ate the food. He's like, I was saving that for Nami, and then Nami doesn't care. She cares about the log pose, which Sanji kind of caused to get damaged.
Right.
And then like the way Nami kicks him into the ocean, go soak your heads, and then you can see like Sanji has like the hearts after him, even though he just got kicked by Nami.
always has the hearts.
And then Luffy can't swim, so
right. I love this cell right here with Usopp and Sanji's eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, Usopp's eyes are longer than his nose, which is saying something.
Yeah. And then that continues in the next page too. Where Usopp's like, was that really that important? Like, do we need that?
Yeah.
It's like, it's only the single most important thing to get anywhere in the Grand Line to survive, but no big deal.
Yeah.
Then we see an introduction to the Unluckies, who also have code names.
Unluckies. Otter riding on the back of a vulture.
Yeah, and then in this case, the otter has like the seashells and they're kind of clapping them.
Yep.
That's another one of those things that's like not really, it's something that you have to kind of adapt in a still image in a way that makes sense. So.
Yeah, hard to interpret at first, but then you get it like in the next couple. It makes sense.
Yeah. Then to light the fuse, he smashes like one shell against another shell.
Like otters do.
Yeah, exactly. Very otter-like.
Yep.
And then we have the reunion where all four, or Miss Wednesday, Mr. Nine, Sanji, and Luffy all kind of come up together.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Luffy clearly struggling a little more because he's a devil fruit user.
Yeah, Sanji had to help him out.
So he got the habagak instead of just gak.
Yeah, that's true. Because they're like, gak, gak, gak. He's like, oh my gak. So yeah, now we have them reluctantly accepting. Well, Luffy doesn't seem to be too reluctant, but everybody else is reluctant. Even Croc is kind of like, is it a really good idea to have those two come along with you guys? But Luffy is like, yeah, he's good-hearted. He's not really worried about things. He's like, we can handle whatever comes our way. It's like, it's fine. We'll just bring him along.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a good call, but he was very quick to accept them.
Yeah.
And we see the Mary's patched up.
Yeah, Usopp was in the previous panel. Remember how he had the hammer from Owen Park? Usopp's hammer is also used for hammering things, so it's very versatile.
Go figure.
So Usopp's kind of also taking on the role of kind of like maintenance for the ship.
Yeah.
So he's offering more than his fighting capabilities and his ability to tell lies, his sharpshooting. He's also he's been shown to be like all crafty. He was also making the art for the Jolly Roger. So he's kind of like a jack of all trades a little bit,
Totally. But yeah, it's nice to see the Mary reassembled. That was a tough moment, seeing the Mary broken so soon. I was like, no.
Yeah, so the mask has been put back on, and the figurehead. But you can see like the steel plating around those areas now. So it's got a little character.
It's first scuffle.
And then they say goodbye to Crocus and Laboon.
Goodbye, whale.
Yeah. And then that reveal that Crocus knows Roger.
Yes. Talking to himself, but definitely referencing Roger, his buddy.
So he recognizes something special in Luffy. So somebody who, we presume knew Roger.
Right.
A direct tie to Roger. So he's seeing something special about this kid too. So I think that's something that says a lot.
It's a telltale sign for sure.
Yeah.
And Nami's got her new log.
Yeah. So we see here, Crocus says, the log post should be full now. And like set it to the next destination. So they're going to Whiskey Peak. So they confirmed it's going in the right direction. So from here, their path is going to be set. So they're committed.
Pretty cool. Working their way up the Grand Line.
Okay. Ready to move on?
Yes.
Next part of the cover story, Kobe and Hamepo's Chronicle of Toil, Volume 20, Hamepo's Return. Hamepo has made his way back to the Navy ship. So
I guess he wasn't killed.
Could have gone either way. It's up in the air, but he's alive.
Kobe seems hyped.
The back of his shirt even says Chore Boy, so they gave us a little helpful translation.
Yeah.
So his says Chore Boy, the other Marines
Justice.
Garp in particular, yeah, it says Justice, but yeah, the other Navy Marines have the same. Yeah. So Hamepo's all good.
He's back.
So we can sigh in relief.
He chose sides.
Yeah. Okay. Chapter 106, The Town of Welcome. The crew is officially on the Grand Line and has started to snow heavily, then begins to thunder. Nami remarks that it was sunny just a minute ago. The two agents they brought along mockingly ask Nami if they checked their direction recently. She says she just checked it, but notices that they've somehow been turned around. It's all hands on deck as the crew frantically tries to keep up with the ever-changing weather and sea currents. After things have calmed down, Zoro wakes up from his nap and notices that the guests look familiar, but can't put his finger on it. Nami gives Zoro a beating for not helping earlier. Luckily, they've made their way to Whiskey Peak, an island made of giant cacti. The two agents take their leave. Nami explains to the crew that they need to stay here long enough to let their log post register the direction for the next destination, so they should be prepared for anything while they are here. As they sail into town, they are greeted with a warm welcome and celebration. The mayor of the town, Igarapoy, meets with them and invites them to a feast in their honor. The crew happily accepts. As the sun goes down, the unluckies watch the town from a distance. So, yeah, not the reaction that they were expecting coming to their first destination, but hey, so far the Grand Line doesn't seem so bad, right?
No, this could be a good place to pick up a musician. Which
Yeah,
we
always
know
thinking
is the
ahead.
next most important role that needs to be filled.
Exactly.
What a cool design, though, for this island.
For Whiskey Peak.
That shot. It's so cool looking. Like
Yeah.
cactus looking mountains almost. Very cool. Yeah, and they're met with a very warm welcome. After their guests jump ship, like right before getting there, which was like pretty sketchy.
All right, peace. We're out of here.
Like, all right, okay. Pretty sketchy. And Nami's navigational skills are really being put to the test. She's put through like the full gambit here, I think. Luffy's building a snowman. Another tip that Usopp's like crushing it on this.
Yeah, the artistic skills coming in. Yeah.
Plane, sculpting a beautiful snow queen.
And then Luffy immediately destroys it.
Yeah, leading to a snow fight. That was pretty great.
Yeah, that's a great little interaction between those two.
Yeah.
But yeah, this really showcases like how crazy the Grand Line can be.
Totally.
So without the log pose, you know, like they wouldn't have any idea of where to go. Like everything you know about navigating needs to be adjusted accordingly based on how the Grand Line works, because it doesn't work the way you would think it would.
Yeah, all hell breaks loose like immediately. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how crowded this page is.
Yeah, it really helps sell like how like frantic it is.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many cells and there's so much text, and like things are literally just going to shit. And like everyone needs to pick up the slack and take their post and do their job and like be on top of their game, because you know anything could change in the matter of like seconds. So
yeah, Sanji's like right on top of them with their food, keep the strength, and Luffy's like eating everything he can.
Yeah.
You're eating too much.
Yeah,
and even the two agents are they're forced to help too.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Zoro's just sleeping away peacefully, not even like aware what's going on around him.
Classic Zoro, just taking a nap. Yeah, I don't know. This warm welcome feels a little too good to be true.
Okay.
Especially with those guys jumping ship right before they got to their home. I don't know.
Yeah. And then Zoro seems to have some kind of recognition when he sees them.
Oh yeah,
or the names. So he knows there's something up with them.
He said that their names sounded familiar.
Yeah. So yeah. he seems to be clocking them and noticing that they're being very suspicious.
Something is afoot.
I do love this interaction here with Nami, giving Zoro a pounding.
Oh yeah, when he gets the
with the heavy shading here, and then over here, like he gets like the bumps on his head.
Yeah, the 3 little bumps. His bumps have bumps. Yeah, that was pretty great. Yeah, his face too in that shot is so good.
Yeah, like the pain.
Yeah.
Like, how can she hit so hard?
But Nami, I mean, is so relentless. She did this in the last chapter, kicking Sanji and Luffy into the water, and this time bashing Zoro on the head for taking a nap.
Yeah, she's not afraid to whip
No.
everybody into shape.
Nope. The log pose is cool. I like how it's like a watch that she kind of has on her wrist at all times. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's an important tool for her to have at all times.
Cool gadget.
Yeah, because we also established here, like, you know, the sea currents could just change like nothing. Like she was like, I just checked this and it's already wrong.
Yeah.
So she has to really stay on top of it, which is, you know, pretty stressful.
Yeah, very stressful, as we can see. I mean, it's like anything could change in an instant, and everything that you believe to be true before is no longer true. Man, they roll up and they're treated like heroes, and
Yeah.
they are like right here with the crew ready to roll out. They're hypes.
Yeah, and Usopp is loving it. He's like, pirates are like heroes to these people.
It's like, oh, this isn't so bad. I could get used to this. Then we have our otter vulture as the last panel. It's a very ominous final panel.
Yeah.
It's cool. They portray the sun as like a black object, which they've done it earlier in this book too.
I didn't even notice that before, but yeah, I was just noticing it now.
They do it earlier too with the whale, because I was like, what is that? Oh, it's the sun.
Oh.
Before.
Yeah, maybe it's trying to show it's like a deep red.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Luffy's shirt is red, but, you know, it's usually coming across as black on the pages.
Right. I can't find it, but they showed it earlier in one of the scenes with the whale.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here it is.
Like, oh, okay. Yep, I see it. Yeah. It's another whale? Yeah.
Is that another? Yeah. Is that a bigger whale coming? But no, it's the sun, seemingly. Maybe it's a moon. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a cool panel though, with the sun setting like that.
Yeah, I think the giant cacti are very cool. Very cool, like geography design.
Yeah.
And it gets better. But we'll get there soon.
Yeah, let's move on to the next chapter. Chapter 107, Moonlight and Tombstones. The sun has set as the crew enjoy themselves. Usopp tells of his achievements. Nami and Zoro outdrink everyone else. Sanji is surrounded by women, and Luffy is eating everything in sight. Over in the cabin elsewhere, Mr. Nine writes a letter for the unluckies to deliver, explaining to the boss that they failed to obtain the whale meat, but they successfully enticed the pirate crew to their town. Meanwhile, the Straw Hats have all passed out from their festivities. Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday greet the mayor, who's actually Mr. 8. A nun arrives as well, who turns out to be Miss Monday. She asks them if this plan is worth all the food that they're wasting, as they have a food shortage as it is, and no whale meat. Mr. 8 tells them not to worry and shows them that Luffy has a bounty of 30 million berries. He orders them to take everything of value from their ship and to capture Luffy, as he's worth more alive. Luckily, Zoro overheard the whole thing and never drinks himself into a stupor. He's figured out that they are a group of bounty hunters from the organization Baroque Works. Zoro was previously invited to the secret organization, but turned them down. He didn't want to join a bunch of crooks who answered to the orders of one man who nobody knows the identity of. Mr. 8 says that they'll have to add one more tombstone to the ones that covered the cacti and orders the others to attack. Zoro dodges the assault and takes cover. It's about to be 1 versus 100.
Let's go. My guy Zoro just taking everyone on.
The other shoe has dropped.
Ugh. I love Zoro. I think I've said it before, but he's becoming my favorite character of all the characters.
Yeah, Zoro is definitely one of my favorite characters as well. And these are a strong set of chapters for him.
Yes.
in particular.
Yep.
Um,
But man, everyone is living it up in the first couple
yeah.
pages of this. And like they're what? They're like in like 16, 17, right? Ish. But damn, they
So
can hold their booze for for like, mid-teens. Like, wow.
yeah, I think Zoro and Nami are like, um, yeah, I think they're like
17,
17,
18?
17, 18. Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
yeah,
But they're crushing the brews. Crushing it
yeah,
for, for being so young.
yeah. And then we find out later. Um,
I'm seeing a theme in these what is it? What are they called? The mysterious people. I guess the Baroque works.
Rogue
We
Wars,
find
yeah.
out, but they have a polka dot theme. They have it in tablecloth there, and then on the mailbox,
Oh,
and it's also
okay. Oh, the
also
Unluckies too.
um, Mr.
Mr.
13
13,
and Mrs. Wednesday. The
Friday.
vulture and the otter also were both dressed up in polka dots, so
That's true.
I think it's a theme.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch that, but you're right.
But I mean, also kind of get like a Baroque Jolly Roger on the mailbox,
Yeah,
which is cool.
yeah. So we find out that they were being deceived. This all apply to collect the bounty on Luffy, who they now realize is worth quite a lot. So that
Yep.
bounty's already coming to play here.
Worth his weight in gold, which in this case is a lot of gold because look at this guy. I love that. I love how like he can eat like no other, and because he's made of rubber, he just like balloons into this like, huge character. I love that.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
funny.
that's so funny. And everyone passes out really happy, except for Zoro, who's on top of his game and ready to slay.
Yeah, so he knew
I
something
love
was
that.
up. Yeah, because he called them out earlier, being suspicious, and like
Yep.
he had a feeling that there was something familiar about the names, and he kind of connected the dots here.
Yeah.
So luckily he heard the whole plan. So um, he still seems to be he's have his wits about him. He didn't go too crazy.
Yep. Yeah, this is a great moment for Zoro. I also love the detail that the cactus are actually tombstones.
Yeah, that was a
So
nice
cool.
touch.
That was a really cool touch. I
Which is a
love.
lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, I know, but that was such a cool like design choice. I love that.
Yeah, to give the impression of them having needles on there. That's really
Yep,
cool.
very cool. And then Zoro shows his worth and kicks some serious ass. And they're like, "Oh man, maybe we underestimated these pirates."
Yeah.
And they're all suspecting that Zoro was the captain. They're like, "Oh, he was the captain all along, not that
Yeah.
really nice, that really nice kid with the straw hat."
Now it makes sense.
Now it makes sense. Yeah, a great moment for Zoro, and we get to see the mayor or the previously told as mayor, but I don't remember his name now.
So yeah, it's Igaropoi or Mr. 8.
Igor or Mr. 8.
Yeah. So
He uses his saxophone shotgun
yeah.
power in this chapter, which is cool.
I think he also did they introduce his okay, yeah, so it was the last chapter. So again, like in One Piece, there's a lot of characters that have like these quirks. He has a quirk where um like he says like me before he
Oh,
like speaks.
yeah.
So yeah.
I love that.
So he has like that quirk, but a lot of times like we'll see like laughs or like they have like speech quirks or something like that. So
Yeah.
this is just an example that we're seeing here.
Yes, so good.
So
It was like the fish man who did the kissy mouth every
yeah, with
time.
like the smack, yeah,
The smack.
yeah. So again, like one of those kind of quirks, yeah.
He's got the little voice training mid sentence. Like I love it because it feels like he's like clearing his voice. He's like
Yeah,
me 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 me.
yeah. All right, my singing
And he
voice is still good.
continues.
Okay.
It's so funny.
And then the fact that he has like the saxophone kind of also plays into like a more musical
Yeah,
aspect.
and that like classical hairdo wig looking
Very
hairstyle.
baroque of him.
Very baroque of him. Yes. I didn't even put that together. That's great.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting we're getting like this insight into Baroque Works,
Yep.
their organization. We're seeing like the naming conventions with how like they have these code names.
Mhm.
So it gets a little confusing because like there's so many misters and then like miss something like day of the week.
Right.
Um so like it can get like, a little difficult to keep track of them sometimes.
Yep.
But they have other names too, but a lot of times they go by their code names here. So it goes like Igropoi and Mr. 8.
Yep.
The sister, that's what they called Miss Monday. They just called her the sister,
Yep.
who's pretending to be a nun.
Yeah, I mean, if you're calling them days of the week, that's max of 7 women in your, naming convention there.
All right. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No, I'm so ready to move on.
Yeah. The next one's a good one. This is an episode of the anime that I really enjoy, like seeing this in action. You can go in and see the specific like sequences are directly like lifted from the pages. So
Cool.
it's very accurate to see like when he dodges something like or his attacks. Like it's very accurate to the manga pages. So this is a cool episode to see.
Cool.
It's a very good Zoro episode.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. So before we do get into the actual chapter, next part of the cover story, Kobe and Hamepo's Chronicle of Toil, Volume 21, Begging Forgiveness. Kobe and Hamepo beg for Garp's forgiveness.
Straightforward.
Pretty simple, yeah. What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get. Yeah.
But looks like the rest of the Navy are asking for forgiveness as well.
Yeah.
Like we're a little hasty. Should have thought about the lives of our fellow members. So our bad. Okay, chapter 108, 100 Bounty Hunters. Their Baroque Works agents try to find Zoro. Zoro sees this as a good opportunity to try out his new swords. Zoro manages to dodge and outmaneuver everyone in the town as they try to kill him. Miss Monday tries to throw a barrel at Zoro, who is able to slice it apart with ease. He encounters a small child and a nun, who seem defenseless, but Zoro is not fooled by their ruse and takes them out using the backside of his swords. As the crowd tries to chase him up the ladder, he throws the ladder down so they all fall. Miss Monday picks up the ladder and tries to hit him. He avoids the attack by diving to the ground, but she pins him. She takes out some brass knuckles and punches him in the face. Not impressed, Zoro turns the table and grabs Miss Monday by the head, and she passes out. Baroque Works now see that they've had it all wrong. Luffy wasn't the one with the 30 million berry bounty, it must have been Zoro.
Such a good chapter for Zoro.
Yeah.
Like,
very action packed.
Yeah, 100 bounty hunters. Oh, this is a perfect time to try out my brand new swords. And he kind of goes into detail about that, which I love. I think it's so cool. I'm talking about like, oh, like this blade has a fine edge, and like this blade doesn't listen to its wielder. I thought that was like super cool. Just like a little
issue.
Yeah, just like little tidbits about his like relationship with his swords and his interaction with his swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, just adding to him being my favorite.
Yeah.
low key favorite character.
And deservedly so.
Yeah. This is a great chapter for him. I guess to showcase his strength at the end there too.
Yeah, so for him, this is almost like a game. Like he's not worried at all
Yeah.
whatsoever. No, like he's like, oh, only 100 of them. They're still outnumbered. He's like, I got this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Zoro's kind of like smiling along, like he's having fun trying out his new swords. Um, yeah, he has like a few close calls, but he's not really in any serious danger here.
Right.
Yeah, like a lot of really cool like action panels here, and that's what I was saying. Like with the anime, like it's really cool to see this like in action because there's so many like very distinct like shots here, and it's cool to see them like play out.
Totally. I love this shot of him like jumping from the rooftop.
That's a cool one.
Rooftop to rooftop. He's like silhouetted by the moon.
Yeah,
with
that's
all
cool.
his swords. It's very cool.
I
Yeah, you
also
see
like
he's like emanate. There's like emits confidence.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Never doubted himself once.
Yeah, he was able to cut right through like the mallet.
Yeah.
That's where Katetsu the Third was. He's like, wow, like I can't believe I could just cut through that. It has a great edge, but like, it seems to like have like a will of its own. Like it wants to cut, even he's not really trying to.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was a cool detail. Yeah, I'm loving all this, like the relationship he has with his swords and the lore of the swords and like their different capabilities and traits and characteristics. Like, love it.
Yeah. Then I also like when he confronts like the nun and the child, and like they're trying to like plead innocence as if like they're not like in a town like that's obviously trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And they're like up at night here. So so he's not fooled for a second. He's like, I mean, he shows them mercy. He doesn't just like cut them down in full blood, but like, yeah, he's not buying it. So he's like ready for it. So
he literally says, "I used the back of my sword. Forgive me."
Yeah.
He has to state that he did not kill the woman and child.
Yeah.
They are alive, even though they tried to kill him.
Yeah. And the way he outsmarts them using the ladder. They all try to climb up and he just knocks it down on them. Classic maneuver.
Classic. Yeah, kicking some ass, taking some names. I love this when he gets attacked. He gets like an aerial attack. And he just like very nonchalantly cuts a circle around himself and steps aside, and everyone lands on the circle and falls through.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Look out for the hole I just made. That was smooth.
Be a shame if somebody just put a hole here randomly.
Yeah. But always a pleasure to see Zoro in action fighting. Like,
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, this is a real standout chapter for Zoro for sure. This is one that stands out to me in particular. Where if I was like to like recommend like an episode to kind of show like who Zoro is or like what his capabilities are, or like just like if you're just to be like, hey, I just wanted to like check out a good Zoro episode, I'd be like, this is the one I would point people to.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
So meanwhile, the rest of the crew, they're just sleeping away peacefully, unaware of what's going on. Zoro's taking it upon himself. He's not gonna wake up the rest of the crew to like worry them. He's like he can handle this on his own.
Yep.
So he's just gonna take care of it. And then so now it seems like Brokeworks has their eyes on Luffy's bounty. And they think that it actually belongs to Zoro. So they think, oh, let's take care of Zoro, then the bounty is as good as ours. So yeah, that's where this volume will leave off.
Yep. They'll have a rude awakening if they think that he's the captain.
Which this has kind of been the trend we've been seeing, where it's like people don't see Luffy as like the captain, or he can't possibly be the captain. Like we saw this like with Arlong Park too. It's like, like Zoro's obviously the ringleader, so we could keep seeing this trend. It's like people aren't taking Luffy seriously.
Totally.
And Luffy kind of proves them wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap up the episode, we do have an arc to rank.
Oh, yes.
So, Logtown isn't a long arc, but it kind of doesn't really fit into any other arcs. So a lot of the tier lists I'm looking at do kind of separate it into its own arc. So I figure we should rank it.
Okay, sounds good.
No villain this week because there isn't really a villain. I don't really see Smoker as a villain. There's like a minor like confrontation, but it's not like an actual fight. And he doesn't really ring like villain to me. He's just more of like an obstacle for Luffy at that time.
Yeah, because he's a good guy too.
Yeah.
He's a Marine, so he's like a good guy.
Not saying that Marines can't be villains. We've seen for sure that they can.
I'm sure, yeah.
But Smoker in particular, I just don't feel like he doesn't really come off as a villain for the sake of how I would classify a villain. So we're going to not really include him as part of the ranking.
I think that's fair.
All right, so let me pull up your previous rankings. So you and Sean, up to the point, have been in agreement. So from top to bottom, you've had Arlong Park, Baratier, Syrup Village, Romance Dawn, and Orange Town. So I'm going to have you go first. Where would you place Logtown?
I would definitely place it behind Arlong, and I'm just debating whether I'd place it behind Baratier or not. I think probably behind Baratier, just because Baratier has like the introduction of Sanji and Chef Zeph, who is such a great character. But I do really like the introduction of Smoker. He's a great character with really cool abilities. It's a tough one for me. I think that like this arc had a lot of really cool moments in it, like the tie-in with Luffy emanating the like Gold Roger sort of the parallels there were very cool. I mean, the fact that it all hinged on a random strike of lightning is pretty ridiculous. Like
among other things, yeah.
Among other things, but like pretty crazy. We get the reintroduction of Buggy and Alvida, who are two great characters. Both come back at the same time. Like that's pretty exciting. I think I'm gonna rank it after Baratier. So currently third.
Okay, so you'd have Arlong Park, Baratier, Logtown, Syrup Village, Romance Town, Orange Town.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they also put Reverse Mountain as its own arc as well, which is actually I think it's probably longer than Logtown, actually, right?
Probably.
Or about the same.
So we're ranking that one as well?
Yeah, so let's also put Reverse Mountain on there somewhere.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Reverse Mountain, but I think I'd rank it lower than Log Village. What was after? What did I have after? Sorry, what are my current rankings again? It was
so you had Arlong Park, Baratier, Logtown, Syrup Village, Romance Dawn, Orange Town.
I think I would put Reverse Mountain after. I don't know. Syrup Village was.
So that was Usopp and Kuro.
Yeah, I think I'd place it after that. So currently fifth for me.
Okay, so between Syrup Village and Romance Dawn.
Maybe behind Romance Dawn. I don't know. Like I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't. I don't think it's like one of my top ranking arcs.
I
don't know.
Yeah, it's a little
It was
trickier
mostly
now.
about the whale. It was mostly the whale.
Yeah, because a lot of Reverse Mountain is information dump.
Yeah, it was a big information dump. It was mostly whale backstory, which was fun, but also like I don't know if I'd rank it above like the introduction of some of the main characters in the story. You know,
Yeah.
and the merry-go gets mauled, which was so sad. Yeah, I think I'd rank it after. What did I just say? I think I'd rank it after.
Romance Dawn.
Yeah, after Romance Dawn.
Okay. So now you have Arling Park, Baratier, Logtown, Syrup Village, Romance Dawn, Reverse Mountain, Orangetown.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at.
Okay.
What's your opinion? How do you feel?
This is like the first time where I feel like you really need to think about it. Like, I mean, with Romance Dawn and Orangetown, they're like very close. I feel like that could go either way. But now with these kind of like smaller arcs, it's a little it's getting a little tougher to decide because like it's been like a clear progression, I think, to a certain point.
Yeah.
So I had Arlong Park, Baratier, Syrup Village, Orangetown, Romance Dawn. Um,
What's it gonna be?
so I think I would put Logtown after Syrup Village, but before Orangetown.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, with Reverse Mountain again, like I do love the Laboon backstory, and I do like the world building. Um, but I do think it's hard to put it above Romance Dawn.
Yeah, I agree.
Romance Dawn, well, still towards the bottom for me. Like it has some really great like setup for the entire series, um, and it does have like Zoro, his introduction, Morgan and Helmeppo, um, Kobe. So there's a lot of great things that get introduced there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think Reverse Mountain just doesn't feel significant enough to really justify putting it like much higher.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Arlong Park, Baratier, Syrup Village, Logtown, Orangetown, Romance Dawn, then Reverse Mountain.
I mean, I think this series is getting progressively better on a whole, generally speaking, without ranking any of the arcs. Like I think that this series is getting better and better as we go. But yeah, I do think like the nostalgia for some of those early arcs definitely bring them up in the ranking for me. Just like the introduction to some of the main crew that we have now. So
Yeah, so I mean, in general, like as a trend, like the series is building on itself. So by
yeah,
nature, it's going to have that feeling where it's like, it's getting better and better. But that
yep,
doesn't mean like every arc has to be considered better than the last arc.
totally,
Especially like, some of these smaller arcs. Like they're not going to be like large scale arcs. So like I was saying, like this one in particular is like Reverse Mountain has been more of like kind of world setting up a little bit here, just kind of like setting the stage for us, but it's not really meant to be like this grand arc where
right,
everything happens. So
yeah,
yeah, I think that's just kind of how it's going to be a little bit. So we're gonna have like smaller arcs, we're gonna have bigger arcs, and it's gonna be more difficult to rank going forward because we're gonna have those kind of interchangeable
yeah,
or
totally,
intertwined. So yeah, so and a lot of times, like I was saying, like my opinion might feel different later on. I might be like looking back at my rankings, be like, oh, wow, actually, I think this would have been higher before. So it's gonna be kind of hard to to always predict, especially if like I'm trying to like look ahead. I'm trying to look only at what we've done so far.
right, right.
So some of
Yeah,
these
it's gotta
things,
be
like
hard for you. For me, at
yeah,
least this is literally all I've experienced. So
yeah,
like, I don't have anything else in my mind to compare it to. It is what it is.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. So the actual tiers that we're going to be placing them in, that could be a little bit more fluid because as we go on, we're gonna have more context for like some of like the greater arcs of One Piece. So it's gonna be like not everything's gonna be S tier, or not everything's gonna be like C tier. Like it's all gonna be like relative to each other.
Gotcha.
So as we go along, if you want to kind of shift to like, like this arc was great, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was like top tier. So maybe I put like an A tier. So we can kind of specify as we go along, but it's just kind of hard to say, oh, this is like an S tier arc, or this is like a C tier arc when we don't have the context for more arcs. Yeah. So just to be clear, like, if I put something in C tier, I don't think it's like a bad arc.
Right.
It's just like in context of One Piece, I just think it's lower than other arcs.
Yeah.
But like compared to like another series, it might still be like an A tier arc. But it's just in the context of the series, it's C tier. It's not really that consequential.
Right.
And it's just for fun. So that's really the main thing. All right, so that's gonna do it for this episode. You can find this episode where podcasts are found at wearereadingonepiece.buzzsprout.com or on our YouTube channel at We Are Reading One Piece. This is a spoiler-free channel up to where we have recorded the podcast so far. So if you're new to the series, you can visit the channel there. You can also find me and this podcast on my YouTube channel at Pirate King Codex for various One Piece content. So that will wrap it up for this week. But next week we will be discussing Volume 13. So we'll see where things go from here. But I've been Joel, and I've been joined by my co-host Evan.
This is Evan. Thanks for joining. 100 down. Stick around for the next 100. Keep it going.
We're just cruising along here.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. Be sure to bring along all of your hopes and dreams, and we'll see you on the next episode.